What on earth did we just witness in Shanghai? The Masters 1000 turned into pure chaos, players collapsing, throwing up, retiring mid-match. The heat, the exhaustion, the controversy, it's all boiling over. We saw Novak Djokovic vomit on court, Jannik Sinner forced to retire, and Carlos Alcaraz not even show up because of an injury caused in last week ATP 500 in Tokyo. Fritz and Mpetshi barely standing by the end of their match, gasping for air like marathon runners. And then, boom, Zverev drops a bombshell, accusing the ATP of favoritism, maybe even corruption, claiming the courts are being slowed down to favor Sinner and Alcaraz. Roger Federer once warned about this same issue, and now it feels real. The question is simple. Has the ATP lost control of its own tour? This week, Shanghai wasn't just a tennis tournament, it was a breaking point. So let's start. First week incidents. The Shanghai Masters 1000 was supposed to mark the grand return of one of the biggest tournaments in Asia and the world's top players under the city's neon skyline. But instead, the first week turned into chaos. Even before the first ball was hit, there was drama. Carlos Alcaraz withdrew from the tournament after suffering a leg injury in Tokyo. Ironically, he had just won that event, but the injury, picked up in the early rounds, worsened as he played through it. Doctors advised rest, and Alcaraz decided not to risk his body just weeks before the season's final stretch. His absence set the tone. The field was already depleted before the tournament had even begun. Then, once play started, the conditions immediately became the main story. Shanghai in October is hot, humid, and draining. Temperatures pushing past 30 degrees Celsius, humidity near 80%. Players described it as playing in a sauna. Hydration breaks were constant. Ice towels everywhere. You could see it in every rally. Heavy legs, slower movement, short tempers. The most shocking image came from Novak Djokovic. In his second-round match, he actually threw up twice on court, visibly struggling to breathe between points. The crowd fell silent. Djokovic finished the match and won, but it was one of those moments that showed how brutal the conditions really were. Then came the Jannik Sinner episode. Midway through his match against Talon Griekspoor, Sinner started cramping badly. He could barely move, and after trying to push through, he was forced to retire, meaning he had to stop the match and hand victory to his opponent. It was heartbreaking to watch. One of the fittest players on tour, literally unable to stand. And he wasn't alone. Matches like Fritz versus Giovanni Mpetshi Pericard or Musetti versus Komnasana turned into endurance tests, with players leaning on their rackets, gasping for air, barely able to finish points. By the end of the first week, fans weren't just talking about winners and losers, they were talking about survival. The courts, the heat, the exhaustion, the injuries, it all combined into a perfect storm. Shanghai's first week wasn't about tennis brilliance. It was about how much the human body can endure when the sport itself refuses to slow down. But then we got a whole new drama in Shanghai. Favoritism in the ATP. Alexander Zverev publicly accused tournament organizers of slowing the courts to favor the game of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, a charge that immediately reignited an old debate about surface homogeneity and whether organizers nudge conditions to manufacture marquee finals. Zverev's comments at Shanghai were blunt. He suggested courts are being prepared to make results more predictable and to suit the all-court, baseline-heavy styles of today's top players. Sinner's reaction was short and firm, insisting players must adapt to whatever conditions are handed to them and denying any personal stake in setting surfaces. That pushback matters because it separates player agency from tournament decision-making. Sinner can benefit from slow courts, but he doesn't choose them. Even Roger Federer has weighed in recently, lamenting that courts have become more uniform and slower, which reduces tactical variety and can favor top-ranked all-rounders by diminishing the chance of upset. Federer framed this as a structural shift in the sport rather than a discrete conspiracy, but his stature amplifies the question. Roger said, "I understand the tournament directors who, based on their instructions, try to make the courts slower. This benefits those who need to hit extraordinary winners to beat Sinner, because if the court is fast, they might only need a couple of well-timed shots to win. Tournament directors think, I'd rather have Sinner and Alcaraz in the final, you know?" In a way, it works for tennis. That's why the tournament directors, we need to fix it. We need to have not only fast courts, but what we would want to see is Alcaraz or Sinner figure it out on lightning fast and then have the same match on super slow. It's because the tournament directors have allowed, with the ball speed and the court speed, that every week is basically the same. What about hard numbers? The tennis community measures surface speed with indices like the Court Pace Index, CPI. Independent trackers show a notable slowdown at this year's Shanghai event. One analysis cited a drop in Shanghai's CPI from approximately 40.8 last year to 32.9 this edition, a sizable swing that would make serves less lethal and rallies longer. Broader CPI/court speed databases and analytic outlets also point to a trend toward more homogeneous, often slower hard courts across events. That data gives the slower courts claim technical substance, but not proof of intent. So where does that leave us? The evidence suggests courts are measurably slower in places and that the tour's surfaces are converging, which can benefit certain player profiles. But there's no published paper trail proving organizers deliberately rig courts for specific players. Surface speed is influenced by paint, granular mix, ball choice, humidity, and maintenance practices, factors that can be tweaked unintentionally or for legitimate reasons: TV, player safety, scheduling. What we can demand now is transparency. Publish CPI and ball specs pre-tournament, standardize reporting, and let independent data decide whether this is design or drift. Second week. Summary. The second week in Shanghai has felt more controlled, less dramatic fireworks, but still full of intrigue. The field has thinned, and what remains is a mix of the expected and the surprising. Novak Djokovic, despite earlier physical struggles, is still in the hunt. After a tough match versus Jaume Munar, where he battled leg issues and heat exhaustion, Djokovic survived to make the quarterfinals. He then pushed through Zizou Berg's 6-3, 7-5 to reach the semis, and in doing so became the oldest player ever to reach an ATP Masters 1000 semi-final. It's a testament to his grit. At the center of the story is Valentin Vachereau, the unexpected breakout star of the tournament. The 26-year-old from Monaco, ranked number 204 in the world, has become the headline act of the second week. A qualifier who had never before reached the main draw of a Masters 1000, Vachereau has been playing the best tennis of his life. After battling through qualifying, he took down several higher-ranked opponents before pulling off his biggest win yet, a 3-set shocker over Holger Rune, the world number 8. He's now the lowest-ranked semi-finalist in Shanghai Masters history and one of the lowest ever at a Masters 1000 event. On the semis, we got Arthur Rinderknecht, Valentin Vachereau cousin, against Medvedev, and he actually won in 3 sets. On the other side of the draw, the best ever, Novak Djokovic against the surprise of the tournament, Valentin Vachereau. Vachereau won the match in 2 sets and reached his first Masters 1000 final. So we reach the finals and we have 2 cousins playing against each other and their first time in a Masters 1000 final. Then in the final, Valentin Vachereau beat his cousin and won his first ATP Masters 1001st ATP title, completely changing his career. What a crazy week we had in Shanghai. But the ATP is facing a big problem: tournament overload. At this point of the season, you can almost feel the fatigue through the screen. The ATP calendar has become a marathon with no finish line. Over 60 tournaments across 5 continents, constant travel, different time zones, and barely any real off-season. Players go from clay to grass to hard court in a matter of weeks, and by the time the Asian swing arrives, the tank is empty. This year, it's clearer than ever. Jannik Sinner was forced to retire in Shanghai after cramping, Carlos Alcaraz didn't even show up because of injury, and Novak Djokovic admitted to feeling completely drained. The brutal schedule is finally catching up to the tour. Late in the season, conditions like Shanghai's heat and humidity only magnify the wear and tear. We're seeing more upsets, more retirements, and fewer stars making it deep into draws. Even when they do, matches often look like survival, not competition. The ATP's pursuit of year-round content, more tournaments, more points, more markets, might be great for business, but it's pushing the human limits of the sport. When the best players can't stay healthy enough to finish the season, when fans tune in and see exhaustion instead of excellence, it's time to ask, is the calendar broken? Because at this pace, tennis isn't celebrating endurance. It's testing who can survive the longest without collapsing. If you are tired of feeling stuck in your tennis journey, training hard but not seeing real results, struggling with injuries, inconsistency, or feeling like you're not reaching your true potential, it's because you're not doing what the pros do. The difference between staying where you are and playing like a pro isn't just talent, it's having the right system, mindset, and support. That's exactly why I created the Tennis Motivation Academy, for players who refuse to settle. If you're serious about leveling up, this is your shortcut. You'll get the Become a Pro Player Guide, so you train with the same structure as top athletes. Elite fitness routines, so you move faster, hit harder, and outlast your opponents. Injury prevention system, because pain shouldn't hold you back. A private community of winners, because who you surround yourself with matters. Spots are limited and doors won't stay open forever. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting the same results. Don't wait, take action now. The link is in the description. That's it for today. If you found this video useful, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your tennis friends. See you in the next one.